brothers and sisters, as iron cannot mix with clay, the prodigals can never reconcile the thought system of white supremacy with the thought system of building for self. They have no relationship. The thought systems are mutually exclusive to one another. Jesus said, brothers and sisters, think not that I come to make peace. I come with a sword. What did he mean by that? I'm going to show you the difference between this thought system and that thought system. They have nothing in common with each other. I'm going to slice them right down the middle so you can clearly see that this thought system is totally and completely different than this one. I come with a sword to show you the difference between the two. So the prodigal cannot build for self and hold the thought system of white supremacy in his head because they are mutually exclusive ways of thinking. Let me show you by simple physics what I'm talking about. In physics, we have something that's called force vectors. And a vector shows you the direction and the magnitude that is taken by an object when you apply a particular force to it. And we use the simple equation of force is equal to the mass times its acceleration. So when you apply a force, it causes a mass to move in the direction of that force. So we're saying that your thoughts are a force, and whatever direction your thoughts go in, there so will your development go. So let's look at number 2 of our thought. Here is the prodigal in the strange land, and he begins to come to himself, and he has a thought of liberation. And that thought of liberation causes him to move in the direction of home. His goal is self-development and going home and getting those things which come as a result of being in harmony with his own nature. And as long as his thoughts, no matter how many of them he have, go in that direction, he will accelerate faster and faster. The more thoughts he applies to his mind, the faster and faster he will go as he goes towards liberation. Now I want you to see what's in the thinking of the prodigal as he sits in the land of the citizens, the strange faraway land. And this is the thought of white supremacy. And as you can see here, the thought of white supremacy brings the prodigal to slavery. It's an exact opposite direction than the thought of liberation. They will get you 2 different directions, 2 different outcomes. One takes you to slavery and the other one takes you to liberation. There is no relationship in the direction. Look at line number 4. Here you see when the prodigal has a split mind. He has his thoughts, some of his thoughts goes in the direction of white supremacy, which is slavery, and the other goes in the direction of liberation, which when he puts equal forces in opposite directions, it makes him stagnant. He's standing still. If he was standing still when he did this, he will remain stagnant. If he was moving towards slavery, he will continue forever towards slavery as long as these 2 forces are in the opposite and equal directions. Now here, number 5 shows you the prodigal when white supremacy has a greater force in his mind than the thought of liberation. When the thought of liberation, he's working towards liberation, but he doesn't have enough force. He doesn't have enough force to apply to his liberation to offset white supremacy. So no matter how hard he works, because he's not applying enough thinking in the direction of liberation, he continues to slide back, though slower, towards slavery and eventual death. And here is what it looks like, brothers and sisters, when the prodigal applies a greater force in the direction of liberation. And here's what it looks like when his whole mind is determined to be free. he goes towards life. So how can we achieve unity? By getting on the same page. If we want to make some of white supremacy work, we ain't on the same page. If we want to make this part of white supremacy work, but that part we throw out, we ain't on the same page. We can't take none of white supremacy into our home because it has no relationship to our nature. So we got to put it down completely. Now, Willie Lynch understood this, brothers and sisters. And so what he warned the slave master to do is to cause the prodigals to try to fix white supremacy by pretending to be his friend. Do a little bit here, do a little bit there, but do nothing for real. Have a little bit that appears to be fixed here, but then take it away, so he'll have to keep fighting for the same thing. 40 years go down the road, he's still fighting for a vote. 40 years down the road, you still fighting to remove police brutality. 40 years down the road, brothers and sisters, we still trying to get them to treat us as equals when we're already equals in our own thought system. We don't need them at all. He tries to get them to fix their system, knowing that their system is completely out of harmony with his own nature. And so he set up those to do that, to convince the prodigal that a little bit of white supremacy can work for you. So we got to challenge all of our thinking. We got to challenge the economics that we think. We got to challenge the politics and the way we think about politics. We have to challenge, most of all, the religious industries that rule among us and keep us saturated in the mixture and the mud puddle of death. We cannot, brothers and sisters, unite when truth is the casualty. Because as iron cannot mix with clay, the prodigal nature has no relationship to white supremacy. And white supremacy must be completely removed from his mind. This is why we need a showdown.